Level 1. The Farm Kid and the Broken Truck. You're 16. Nobody pays you anything. The truck is your uncle's 1998 International 4700 with a DT466 that won't fire, and your uncle has 400 bales of hay to move before Thursday. You crawl under with a flashlight and a set of combination wrenches you found in a coffee can. You find the fuel filter black with sludge. You pull it, replace it with a Napa part your uncle drove 22 miles to get, bleed the air out of the secondary filter housing with a rag over the bleed screw, and crank it. The engine stumbles, catches, clears, and settles into that hollow diesel knock you'll hear every working day for the rest of your life. You don't know what priming the fuel system means yet. You figured it out because the engine told you. You didn't look it up. There was no signal out here. Your uncle pays you in a Saturday steak and tells you you've got a gift for it. You spend the rest of that fall pulling apart a junk Deere 4020 in the machine shed, cleaning injectors with diesel in a coffee can, reading a tattered John Deere service manual your uncle found at an auction. You stop watching the clock when there's something broken to fix. The cold and the grease and the skin knuckles don't register the same way they do to other people. They register as information. You buy a used set of Snap-on combination wrenches at a swap meet for $40 and put them in an old toolbox in your bedroom. You start going to the county fair just to stand near the diesel engines. You don't know the word diagnostics yet. You know the word problem. You're good at finding them. The machine shed is your classroom, and it's the best one you'll ever have. Level 2. Lube rack and the dealership shop. You're 19. A Peterbilt dealership 40 miles from home hires you as a lube tech at $16.50 an hour. The shop smells like hot oil and silicone spray and someone's cigarette break from 1992 that never fully left the break room. Your job is everything nobody else wants to do. Oil changes on Class 8 sleepers, greasing fifth wheels, flushing coolant on a Kenworth T680 that's been running pink water since 2019 because the fleet manager thought Dexcool was all they needed. You drain 14 gallons of oil at a time and hand-torque drain plugs to spec while the service writer writes up the warranty jobs for the journeymen across the shop. The master tech in Bay 6 is a man named Gary Hollis, 28 years at Peterbilt, who fixes PACCAR MX-13 failures by listening to them. He doesn't say much. You watch him work. You notice he checks the wiring harness before he touches the electronic control module. You notice he reads the active fault codes but clears the inactive ones on paper first, cross-referencing against the symptom. You start doing the same thing on the lube work. You flag a cracked air dryer on a truck you're just greasing because you saw it while you were under there. The service manager notices that too. You sign up for the Navistar Diesel Technician certification program at night at the community college, $3,800 out of pocket. You take the ASE T2 exam for diesel engines. You miss one question on cooling systems and pass with an 87. The certificate is a laminated card the size of a credit card. You put it in your wallet behind your uncle's farm business card, and it stays there for 11 years. The service manager bumps you to $19 an hour and hands you your first real toolkit purchase form. You put a Snap-on KRL 722 BPBO roll cart on credit at 24 months. The payment is $312 a month. Your rent is $600. You pack lunch 5 days a week for a year and don't miss a payment. Level 3. Journeyman Tech and the Flat Rate Clock. You're 24. You hold 4 ASE certifications, T1 through T4. Gasoline engines, diesel engines, drivetrains, and brakes. You work flat rate now, which means the dealership pays you per job, not per hour. The labor guide says a clutch job on a Freightliner Cascadia is 6.2 hours. If you beat it, you keep the time. If you miss it, you eat it. You beat it in 5.4 on your third one. You stop eating it after the second month. The job that teaches you the most in this period is a no-fault regen fault on a 2021 Kenworth with a Cummins X15. The truck won't complete a parked diesel particulate filter regen. You connect the Cummins inside laptop, pull active codes, and find a DEF quality fault and a NOx sensor rationality code running together. You clear and retest. The NOx sensor upstream is reading 30 parts per million when the downstream says 890. The delta is wrong. You pull the upstream sensor, find it cross-threaded from the last service, replace both sensors and clean the DEF doser injector while you're in there. The truck regens clean in 22 minutes, and the fleet manager calls the service manager personally to say it's the first time that truck has run right in 4 months. That call gets you assigned to the shop's emissions warranty accounts. You take the ASE T8 for preventative maintenance and the T6 for electrical. You learn to read a Kenworth ESA wiring diagram the way a musician reads sheet music, fast, fluently, without translating. You stop guessing. When you guess, you catch yourself and go back to the diagram. A diesel tech at the bay next to yours gets fired for replacing a fuel injector on a no-start that turned out to be a shorted injector driver in the ECM. He guessed. You file that story in a mental folder you never open and never close. The flat rate clock is always running. The diagram is always right. Level 4. The road truck and the mobile call. You're 29. A regional trucking company in your state hires you as a fleet technician at $28 an hour. No flat rate, just a yard full of 47 Freightliner Cascadias, 2 refrigerated Kenworths, and a 2019 Peterbilt 579 the operations manager drives and treats like his own. You do preventive maintenance schedules, you manage oil sample submissions through Blackstone Labs, and you field the emergency calls. The first time a truck goes down on I-40 at 2 a.m. with a driver in the sleeper and 44,000 pounds of frozen food, the operations manager calls your cell and you drive the company's service van 80 miles east in the dark with a drop light, a scan tool, and a box of premium filters. The truck has a failed oil pressure sensor on a Detroit DD15 that lit the dash and made the driver shut it down. New sensor, torque to spec, oil level verified, test idle. The truck rolls in 40 minutes. You eat the rest of the night in the cab of the service van going home, and you decide on mile 43 that you want to do this for yourself. You price a used 2017 Mercedes Sprinter 2500 with 88,000 miles for $21,000. You spend 8 months converting it at night and on weekends. You install a Miller Bobcat 225 welder generator on a custom steel subframe bolted through the floor. You build a compressor bracket for a 30-gallon upright, add a toolbox frame welded to the van walls, and wire a 12-volt LED strip inside. You buy a Cummins Insight license, a Detroit DLB license, and a J-Pro Fleet Diagnostics subscription. You put the total for the van and build-out at $38,400, including the laptop. You finance $25,000 on a 48-month note at 8.9%. You name the business after your home county, and you file the LLC on a Monday in February. The first call comes in Thursday. Level 5, owner-operator and the service call economy. You're 33. The Sprinter runs 90,000 miles in the first 2 years, and you have a waiting list for breakdown service on 3 of the 4 major carriers that dispatch through your county. You bill $145 an hour for diagnostics and mechanical labor. You bill $195 for after-hours and weekend emergency calls. You pull parts from a dealer account you set up with a net 30 line, and you mark them up 30%. In your second year, your gross revenue hits $214,000. After the truck note, insurance, tool finance, license subscriptions, diesel, and a health plan you buy through the NACE self-employed group, you net $88,000. You work 60 hours a week, sometimes 70. Your wife does the invoicing on QuickBooks at the kitchen table after the kids go to bed. The call that almost breaks you comes in on a Friday in August. A dump truck operator running a highway widening job has a Mack MP8 with a cracked EGR cooler that's pushing coolant into the charge air system. The contractor is losing $4,000 an hour of idle time on a DOT deadline job. You drive 60 miles, diagnose in 22 minutes, and give the foreman an honest number. 3 hours minimum, assuming the EGR cooler is in stock at the nearest Mack dealer, which is 2 hours away. The foreman wants a number you can't give him. You hold the line. You charge for the drive, for the diagnostic, for the parts run coordination, and for the labor. The invoice is $2,800. He pays it without argument because the truck is back on the road by 4 p.m. and he's making money again. You stop apologizing for the rate after that job. You add refrigerated unit diagnosis when a food distributor asks if you can work on carrier transit code systems. You take the carrier transit code certification course in Nashville for $1,200. You add it to your services the next week. The refrigerated accounts pay faster than anyone else, and they never argue the rate. You add a second van. You hire a tech you trained yourself at the dealership, a 26-year-old with 2 ASEs and the right instincts. You pay him $30 an hour with a company phone and a fuel card. You put his name on nothing until he's earned it. Level 6, the fleet contract and the real business. You're 39, 4 vans, 9 techs, a leased bay in a commercial building where you stage parts and run the bigger repairs that can't be done roadside. Your contracts include 2 regional LTL carriers, a municipal bus authority with 38 diesel-electric hybrids, a refuse company running 22 Mack LEU electric side loaders, and a crane rental outfit whose Grove RT890E rough terrain crane has been your highest margin account for 3 years. You gross $2.1 million. You have a bookkeeper on payroll and a CPA who runs your quarterlies. You stop doing the invoicing yourself. You stop doing most of the wrenching. The hardest day is when you realize you went an entire week without picking up a tool and the business ran better than when you did. The bus authority contract is won on a sealed bid. You spend 40 hours building the cost model, labor rate, tech deployment time, parts markup, diagnostic software licensing allocated per unit, fuel, van depreciation. You bid $22.40 per vehicle per month for a preventative maintenance retainer, plus $110 an hour for corrective work. You win over 3 other bidders, including one that bids lower and loses on insurance documentation. You learn that government contracts are won on compliance before they are won on price. You hire a compliance manager. The crane account teaches you a different kind of diagnostic. Grove Cranes run Manitowoc's crane control system with CAN bus architecture and proprietary fault codes. You buy the CCS diagnostic software and spend a weekend learning it in your own driveway on a borrowed tablet. The first crane call is a load chart limit fault that locks out the hoist on an active job site. You clear it in 18 minutes on a Saturday morning. The rental company calls you every Saturday after that. The Saturday rate is $245 an hour. You take every call. Level 7. The exit and what it actually costs to build. You're 47. A regional fleet management platform backed by private equity has been rolling up mobile service companies in the Mountain West and the Midwest. They call your cell on a Tuesday in April. You've heard of them. They bought 2 companies you know. You take the call in your truck in the parking lot of a Love's truck stop in Albuquerque because that's where you are when the phone rings. And this is still that kind of business. The letter of intent values your business at a multiple of EBITDA that after 3 months of quality of earnings review and 1 fight over the add-backs on your personal truck comes out to $9.4 million. You retain 15% equity in the platform roll-up. The deal closes on a Wednesday in September. The wire hits at 11:42 a.m. You are doing a pre-purchase inspection on a Volvo VNL 860 at the time, and you find out when you check your phone at lunch. You finish the inspection, the buyer pays $2,400 for the report. Some habits don't stop. You stay on as Regional Operations Director for 24 months per the agreement. You train the next 2 mobile techs the platform hires. You write the diagnostic SOP manual your old self would have killed for at 24. Your name stays on the vans through the transition period. Then the new wrap goes on and your name comes off, and the platform's logo goes on, and your techs report to a district manager in Denver who has never put a diagnostic laptop on a Peterbilt. Here's the part nobody tells you when you're lying on that gravel driveway at 16 with a flashlight in your teeth. The trade is not glamorous. It is cold in the winter and it is brutally hot in the summer, and the roadside calls come at 2 a.m. on holidays, and the driver is always angry because it is never his fault the truck broke down. The diagnostic software licensing alone costs more per year than a semester of college. The tools you need to work on a modern emissions-controlled Class 8 diesel run $60,000 minimum if you count the laptops, the subscriptions, the scan tools, and the specialty sockets. You will be on your back under a trailer, in a truck stop, in a snowstorm on a night you had plans. You will miss things at home. You will be wrong about a diagnosis once in a while, and it will cost you money, and it will cost you sleep. And you will fix it right the second time, because you know what the right looks like. The median wage for a heavy and tractor-trailer truck mechanic in the United States per the BLS 2024 Occupational Employment Survey is $57,280. The top 10% earns $84,020 or more. A mobile heavy-duty mechanic running his own accounts in an underserved corridor clears $140,000 and works for himself. An owner of a multi-van mobile fleet with municipal contracts clears more than that and builds an asset. The asset, when the time is right, has a buyer. Private equity paid $9.4 million for a company that started with a $38,400 Sprinter van build and a $28 an hour shop job someone left on purpose. The Sprinter is still in the bay. You kept it. The Miller Bobcat has 3,200 hours on the frame counter and it starts on the first pull. You keep a Cummins Insight dongle on the keyring with your house keys because some things you don't stop carrying. The farm truck your uncle had, the one with the DT466 and the clogged fuel filter, is parked in a field 18 miles from where you grew up, and the grass has grown up around the frame rails. You drove past it last spring. You rolled down the window and listened. It didn't sound like anything. It doesn't run anymore. But you do.